Most atheists believe in the supernatural, a study finds. When I first came across this study, I was genuinely shocked. I had assumed, as I think probably most people do, that atheists don't believe in God. They are hardcore materialists or naturalists. They reject all belief in angels or demons, the life after death, anything like that, and they believe in science, hardcore science. And indeed, I know people who are just like that. My friend Greg, who I meet at Speaker's Corner, very bright guy, is a hardcore materialist, and he thinks that only science can give us knowledge of reality. And of course, that is a philosophical dogma. It's not based on science itself, and this is something I repeatedly have to point out to him, but it doesn't seem to make any difference. But anyway, most atheists do believe in the supernatural, as a recent study finds, and I want to share the findings with you. Now, this was widely reported in the media, and I'm just looking at the report in the Times of London, which says, most atheists and agnostics believe in supernatural powers and that there are forces of good and evil, even though they don't believe in God, according to a new study. The Understanding Unbelief program, led by the University of Kent, interviewed thousands of people who identified as atheists and agnostics in 6 countries: in Britain, the United States, Brazil, China, Denmark, and Japan. The report defined atheists as people who don't believe in God and agnostics as people who don't know whether there is a God, and I don't believe there is a way to find out. The researchers found that only a minority of atheists rejected all supernatural beliefs which were put to them. Only a minority. So most atheists believe in the supernatural. It found that a majority of people who did not have faith still believed in at least one aspect of the supernatural, such as life after death and reincarnation. They also sometimes believed that some events were meant to be and that there were forces of good and evil. So about a third of atheists and 40% of agnostics, just in the UK, for example, believe that some events are meant to be, compared to over 60% of the population. And 20% of atheists believe in life after death, compared to a majority of the general population. So this is quite extraordinary statistics. So I'm just going to switch now to the study itself from Kent University. There are 8 key findings, and I'll link to the study below, and some of these are absolutely fascinating. For example, one of the findings, unbelief in God, so atheism, doesn't entail unbelief in supernatural phenomena. Only a minority of atheists in each of our countries that they surveyed appear to be thoroughgoing naturalists. And this is interesting. Another common supposition, that of the purposeless unbeliever lacking anything to ascribe ultimate meaning to the universe, also does not bear scrutiny. While atheists and agnostics are disproportionately likely to affirm the universe is ultimately meaningless in their 5 countries, in 5 of our countries, it still remains a minority view among unbelievers in all 6 countries. So even amongst atheists in all the countries, naturalism is not a view that people accept. Also, it says, perhaps challenging common suppositions, with only a few exceptions, atheists endorse the realities of objective moral values. Now, this is shocking to me. Human dignity and human rights and the deep value of nature at similar rates to the general populations in their countries. So even though atheists say they don't believe in God, they believe in supernatural and believe in objective moral values. So they don't believe in a meaningless universe, clearly. There is, the 8th finding, there is remarkably high agreement between unbelievers and general population concerning the values most important for finding meaning in the world and in your own life. Family and freedom ranked highly for all. Also popular were compassion, truth, nature, and science. So this tells me a great deal about the real world, and I had no idea this was the case. What does this mean? Well, when Muslims are doing dawah or Christians are doing their missionary work, I bet most of them assume that atheists are hard-boiled materialists and rationalists and naturalists. And in fact, they're not. A minority might be, perhaps the more vocal ones, but most atheists are presumably open to belief in God, understood correctly, of course, because they're already open to supernatural beliefs anyway. They will probably believe in life after death, or angels, or demons, or a purposeful universe, value, beauty, and truth. So I think this is quite a fascinating insight based on real empirical science, and explodes my common assumptions about atheists. But why is this the case? Why do atheists continue to believe? And I think I've said this before, and it's not unique to the Islamic understanding. There is a sense in Islam, the sense of the fitra, this innate sense of belief in God, in the divine, and a moral sense of right and wrong, to sense what is unjust and what is just in any given situation. This is hardwired, I believe, into our human nature by God. And so even when intellectually we're not assenting to belief in the divine, still our human nature is such, and this is universal. The study at Oxford University showed this recently, universally found that people believe, even when perhaps for some traumatic reason in their childhood, or some disappointment in relationships, or some tragedy in life, they consciously get angry and reject God by denying his existence. But it's there, the belief is still there in the supernatural, even then, for most atheists. It's only a tiny minority of atheists who are hardcore. And I would suggest even then, in a seriously dangerous situation, are there any atheists, in war when you're faced with life after death? I think people will hedge their bets, and even then turn to God in an extreme moment of danger. So I just wanted to share that with you. Do have a look at the research. Maybe I'll put a few links to some newspaper article as well, just to give a more popular summary of what happened in that research. Till next time.